Wait, don't move. Just stay right there and look at those red and blue lights reflecting off the lake. It looks like jewelry scattered on the water, doesn't it? Beautiful in a sick kind of way. But if you look closer, right in the center of that chaos, you'll see a woman in a light blue suit. Her designer heels are sinking into the mud. Her expensive haircut is a mess, and federal agents are closing in on both sides. She's screaming about how she is this community, how she's protected us for 17 years, but her voice is cracking like dry wood. And me? I'm standing 10 paces away, sipping a lukewarm coffee, watching the empire of Cordelia Whitmore turn into a pile of ash. And honestly, I haven't felt this good in years. You see, 30 days ago, that woman called 911 to have me arrested for standing in my own driveway. She thought I was just another victim she could bully out of a home. She had no idea she was pulling the pin on a grenade that had been sitting in her lap for 2 decades. To really get why the FBI is currently hauling the Queen of Lakewood Shores away in zip ties, we have to go back to day one. I pulled into this driveway in a moving truck, just looking at the houses like a general surveying a battlefield. The movers were ready to go, but I told them to wait. I needed a second. I stood there, looking at this lake house, and I didn't see a dream home. I saw a mission objective. I pulled a photo out of my pocket. My Aunt Helena, standing right where I was, smiling despite the lines of worry on her face. This was her house for 35 years. She buried her husband from here. She was supposed to die here. But then the HOA, Cordelia's HOA, came for her. Fines for the grass being too long. Fines for the wrong color mailbox. Violation after violation until Helena couldn't afford to live in a house she'd paid off 20 years prior. She sold it for pennies to some anonymous buyer and died of a stroke 6 months later. Stress, the doctor said. I call it murder by paperwork. I didn't buy this house to retire. I bought it to collect a debt. I hadn't even gotten my first box inside before I heard the click-clack of heels on the pavement. Enter Cordelia. She looked like a glacier in a power bob. She didn't walk. She colonized. She gave me this smile, the kind of smile a shark gives a tuna, and told me she didn't recall approving my sale. I told her I didn't know I needed her permission to buy a house with my own money. The smile stayed, but her eyes went cold. Everything in this community needs approval, Mr. Ashford. I saw the flicker. She recognized the name. I've spent 15 years in interrogation rooms reading micro-expressions, and I saw the moment she realized who I was, or who she thought I was. She didn't waste time. She pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and told the dispatcher there was an unauthorized, possibly armed individual trespassing on HOA property. The movers practically dropped their boxes. But I just pulled out my own phone, started recording, and gave a calm, verbal timestamp of her filing a false police report. It's an old habit. When the cops showed up 12 minutes later, Cordelia was practically vibrating with self-importance, demanding they haul me off. Deputy Calloway, good guy, looked like he'd handled one too many of Cordelia's tantrums, asked for my ID. I handed him my driver's license and a manila folder. Tucked right on top was my retired FBI credentials from the Financial Crimes Division. The air just left the conversation. Calloway's voice went from dealing with a nuisance to professional respect real quick. He told Cordelia, flat out, that I owned the place and she was dangerously close to a misdemeanor charge for that 911 call. She hissed at me that this isn't over as she retreated. I just smiled. I was counting on it. Calloway pulled me aside before he left. Look, Ashford, she's connected. Judges, lawyers, the whole town. Watch your back. I told him I'd dealt with connected people before. The more connections they have, the harder they hit the ground when the house of cards finally folds. That night, my house was a mess of boxes, but my kitchen counter was a war room. I called my old friend Sinclair Vance, a real estate attorney who knows where all the bodies are buried, and told him I was in. I had 87 documents representing 2 years of quiet, obsessive research. Financial records that didn't add up, property transfers that happened way too fast. There was a pattern. 23 families had been hounded out of this neighborhood in 15 years. My aunt was number 17. The next morning, the love letters started. A $200 fine for grass being 5 inches too long. I walked out with a measuring tape, 1.75 inches. I photographed it. Next day, $300 for a trash can being 3 inches too far from the curb. The day after, $250 for not parking perfectly parallel to the house. By day 5, she was charging me $500 for suspicious nighttime activity. Every single notice had her signature on it, and every single notice went into a federal evidence file. On day 6, I was out there with my ruler again when a battered Toyota pulled up. Out steps Augustus Peton. He's 74, looks like he's seen better decades, but he's got these sharp eyes. He was on the board for 12 years. He whispered to me that Helena was the only one who ever questioned the books. When he tried to support her, his wife was hounded so badly she ended up in the hospital. He'd been quiet for 12 years out of fear, but he handed me a USB drive. "I'm 74, he said. "My wife is gone. I have nothing left to lose, and Helena was the kindest woman I ever knew." That drive was the skeleton key. I brought in a forensic IT guy, Winslow. We stayed up until midnight tracking the money. It was beautiful in a disgusting sort of way. HOA fees were being funneled into 3 shell companies. One belonged to Cordelia's husband, Thatcher, another to the HOA treasurer. But the third one? That one fed a trust fund for Judge Delaney Hargrove, Cordelia's cousin. The same judge who dismissed every single lawsuit ever filed against the HOA. They weren't just an HOA. They were a RICO enterprise. They made over $5 million by stealing houses from old ladies and flipping them. They made $370,000 off my aunt alone. By day 12, the neighborhood was treating me like a leper. Cordelia was spreading rumors that I was a corrupt ex-agent, dangerous and unstable. People crossed the street to avoid me. It's a classic move. Isolate the target, make them feel small. But I've worked in hostile environments where people were actually trying to kill me. A few dirty looks from a guy in a golf shirt wasn't going to do it. Then came the big community meeting. The room was packed. Cordelia stood there in her blue suit, looking like a saint, and actually proposed a resolution to vacate me from the community for security reasons. I stood up. The room went dead silent. I didn't yell. I just asked one question. How much money has this association collected in fines over the last 17 years? She tried to shut me down, saying it was internal business. I reminded her, and the 80 people watching, that by state law, those records are public. Suddenly, Augustus stood up, then another neighbor, then 10 more. The silent majority finally found their voices. Cordelia slammed her gavel so hard it broke, but the damage was done. The seeds of doubt weren't just planted, they were blooming. Things got desperate after that. On day 20, I came home to find my front door wide open. The place was tossed. Drawers out, papers everywhere, my laptop gone. But Cordelia's husband, Thatcher, made a fatal mistake. He used an HOA master key to get in. I didn't call the cops to press charges for the break-in. Not yet. See, I'd installed high-def cameras disguised as garden lights. I had Thatcher on video, clear as day, walking in with a key and walking out with my property. That wasn't just a burglary. It was deprivation of rights under color of law. That's the federal case. I called my old partner at the bureau, Marcus Webb. It's time, I told him. Which brings us back to this morning. The red and blue lights. The Queen in handcuffs. As they were loading Cordelia into the back of the cruiser, she looked at me. Truly looked at me for the first time, and the mask finally fell off. There was no community leader left. Just a small, terrified woman who realized she'd picked a fight with the one person who had nothing to lose and the skills to take it all. I watched Thatcher get loaded into a separate car, and I heard the agents talking about the warrant they just served on Judge Hargrove's chambers. The whole house of cards didn't just fall, it imploded. I'm sitting here now, looking at the lake, thinking about Aunt Helena. The house is quiet. The neighborhood is finally peaceful. Not the forced, peaceful Cordelia sold, but actual peace. But it makes you think, doesn't it? How many Cordelias are out there right now, hiding behind a clipboard and a community standard, slowly bleeding their neighbors dry because no one has the heart or the files to stop them? What about you? You ever dealt with a little dictator who thought they owned the air you breathe? Did you fight back, or are you still waiting for your own day, 30? Drop a comment and tell me your story. Let's talk about what justice actually looks like when the bullies finally run out of luck. And hey, if you want to see how we dismantle the next one, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.